know, you've heard of the circle of life. Well, there is a circle of life. I mean, you know, when people say circle of life, they're really talking about, you know, one generation comes along and it gets older and has children and it dies and then the children have children. But there is a circle, folks. The Bible tells us that history kind of has a way of repeating itself. And we see things in the Bible, you know, where years and years later, the same thing will show up in somebody else's life, or it'll show up in another event years and years later. And we're talking about Israel there. See, Israel and America kind of has that pattern. God brought Israel out. You know, they told Pharaoh, said, let's go out so that we can worship our God. They were seeking freedom to worship God. And, of course, Pharaoh did not let them go, and judgment fell on Pharaoh. This nation was built because it wanted to worship God as it pleased.
Amen. Yes, it was.
And Israel, when God blessed them, folks, Israel forgot the blessing and lost the land. America is in the same spot today.
Yes, we are.
They came here seeking God, and this nation was built on godly principles, on the laws of the Bible. But as soon as we become rich and in lack of nothing, we have forgotten who it was that brought us here. In Ecclesiastes 1 and 9 through 11 says this: the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. You got that? And that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Is there anything whereof it may be said, see, this is new? It has been already of old time which was before us. There is no remembrance of former things, neither shall there be any remembrance of things that come after those that shall come out, with those that shall come after. In Ecclesiastes 3 and 15 says, that which has been is now, and that which is to be has already been, and God requires that which is past. He said it just keeps repeating itself, and man does not remember what happened, so they just do it again. See, this thing is set up on God's laws, folks, on God's principles. And there's a harvest system that works that always, it's relentless. It brings it again, the harvest again. But it's not that, hey, we don't have the history books written. We just never learn from them.
Come on, sir. Come on, bless him this morning.
We just never learn. We always have this attitude, okay, that happened then, but it won't happen to us. And all the time we're doing the same thing that they did that brought it on them. And see, all through the Bible, you see patterns in, into the lives, and you see patterns in numbers, and it just shows up over and over and over. You see the number 120. We've taught all that here. The Lord said man's days was 120 years, and there was 120 priests when they brought in the ark of God into the temple of God. There was 120 in the upper room, and we see the number 3 always through the Bible, and the number 40 always. And folks, if it's in the Bible, there's a lesson there if we'll just look and see it. God does not inspire this thing just to be talking. It's all there for our benefit and for our learning. And when President Kennedy was shot, immediately they began to run the comparisons between him and Lincoln. Remember that? And it was uncanny. They were elected the same year, 100 years apart. Kennedy had a secretary that was named Lincoln that told him, tried to get him not to go to Dallas. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy that tried to get him not to go to the theater. They both had children that died while they were in the White House. Kennedy's assassinate, the man that assassinated him, shot him from a wirehouse and then tried to escape into a theater. Lincoln was shot in a theater and the guy tried to escape into a warehouse. Both assassins had the three names: John Wilkes Booth. And what was the other one's name? Lee Harvey Oswald. Both were killed before they came to trial. And just on and on and on, you see history has just repeated itself again. And when we read the story of Antiochus Epiphanes, the ruler that went into Jerusalem. I mean, it's not biblical, it's just history. But he went in and conquered the Jews and desecrated the temple and set himself up as God. And we see in him the type of the Antichrist that's coming. The Bible tells us what the Antichrist will do.
Yes, sir.
And when you look back at the life of Antiochus, you find out that he fit that. You can see similarities in Hitler of the Antichrist. And all through the Bible, we see types and shadows of things that occur over and over and over. And we've taught this before several years ago, and after that I saw it circulating on the internet where some black guy in Virginia, I believe it was, had did this same sermon. But folks, we need to know where we're at. We need to know what's happening.
Come on. That's the truth.
And it's happening again. We want to look at the story of Joseph in Genesis 41. And remembering history repeating itself,
Come on, sir.
keep your mind on this. We're talking about the thing that has been shall be. Joseph had a dream. I have a dream.
Come on. Come on, sir.
He had one that got him in trouble.
Yes, he did.
Joseph dreamed that he was going to raise up above his brethren and his family. Got him in trouble. They hated him. Joseph was sold into slavery. Folks. But he was taken out of slavery and made ruler in Egypt. Joseph was not a natural born citizen of Egypt. He had no emotional ties to Egypt.
Come on.
They gave him a wife of Egypt. He married an Egyptian citizen and they had 2 children. Joseph was just under Pharaoh. In other words, there were other people backing Joseph. Pharaoh was backing him, but Joseph became the face of Egypt.
Yes, he did.
But he was not a natural born citizen. Now in Genesis 41, the Pharaoh had a dream. A lot of dreaming going on here.
Oh.
But he had a dream. And Joseph interpreted it. It told about 7 years of famine and 7 years of plenty. The plenty came first, the famine came later. And he told about, Joseph interpreted it for him, and so Joseph became second